Hey everybody, this is Ricky. I hope you guys are doing very, very well. Just so you know, we'll take care of some kind of take care house up top. Gonna be checking out the chat, but just so you know, there's probably about a 30-second to 1 minute lag on the chat. So I'm gonna be living a little bit in the future when it comes to everything on there, I think. But how's everybody doing? Everybody having a good evening? Can you hear me okay? That's the big question. Am I coming through all right? Oh, it is Sky Voice. Hello, Makomai. Ohayo gozaimasu. Good evening. Derek, good to see you. Thank you guys so much for coming out. It's awesome. We received so many really, really cool questions. So that is hugely, hugely appreciated for something that is awesome. Thanks so much for something that is just me and not what everybody is normally here to see, which would be Himari. But thank you guys. It's really, really awesome that everybody came out. And thank you so much for sending all of the awesome questions. First, let me say, I'm going to be doing most of the stream in English, but we do have, there we go, konbanwa Riki, Main-san, konbanwa, arigatou gozaimasu. We do have some fans from Japan who sent some questions and are checking in. So what I'm going to do, if I translate everything, we're going to be here all night. So I'm going to do mostly in English, but if I receive some questions in Japanese or there's something that I think may pertain to the Japanese fans, I will put that in Japanese as well. 本日の配信、多分見てる方々の中、多くの方が海外の方というか英語圏の方ではないかなと思うんですけれど、もちろん日本の方もいらっしゃって、すごく見てくださっているというかご視聴してくださってありがとうございます。で、日本の方から質問もいただきましたので、原則として英語でちょっと話させていただきますが、日本語でいただいている質問は日本語で返答して、で、もしなんかこれもちょっと日本語で付け加えたいなっていうことがあったら、それもちょっと付け加えさせていただきまする。So that was just what I said a moment ago, but in Japanese. So I'm glad that you guys are all here. And we got a lot of questions. We've got like almost 20 questions, which is really awesome. I did not think we would get that many. But there were a bunch of other things I wanted to talk about too, but I was thinking maybe we would shoot for 45 minutes, an hour tonight, not super, super long. So I'll talk about a couple of the things that I thought I'd hit right off the bat. And then we'll go into the questions because there's a bunch of them and there's some really, really interesting questions. Paul, I got all of the questions that came in before I closed the form. So if you were able to send your question, it is in there. Do not fear. And also, I want to say up front too, there will be no big announcements or scary announcements or this is just kind of a fun little talk. The reason I actually thought about doing this in the first place is because, sometimes when we're going to photo sessions or shoots or traveling on tour in car, Himari and I are talking, and she's like, "Oh, this is interesting. You should have a talk and talk about these things with the fans. I think the fans would be interested in that, or would that would be cool." I'm to the fans in Russian. I cannot read Russian, so apologies for that. I will check that though. So it was actually thanks to Himari that we thought we would do this in the first place. So thank you to Himari for that. Hold on 1 second. Oh, hello. Hello. So first, the big news. I said we wouldn't have any big news, but this is small news, maybe? Little baby news? We got a bad. Did I do something bad? Don't know what that is. We've got completely caught up with all of our shipping, and that is thanks to Himari. So for everybody who has been waiting for things, that is very much appreciated. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for waiting on everything. And everything that we can ship out should be shipped out. My debut announcement is not coming in. I'm very sorry. I did have a question about that, so we will touch on that a bit later. But thanks to Himari helping with all of the packing and us getting things out, we are all caught up. So that means we can make new things. So right now I'm working on the next volume of the Isiliel World Domination mini photo book. That should be up very soon. That's going to be the next thing coming up in the next couple weeks. I've also got some kind of exciting releases coming up towards the end of this month, and those will be musical releases. So that's also super, super cool. I think you guys are going to be happy about that. And I've got something slated for this year that a lot of people have been asking about. I've been having people ask about this for pretty much since Isiliel started, and it will be coming up probably maybe November-ish, a very cool release. So thanks to Himari helping us get caught up, I can put out a bunch of new stuff, and hopefully you like it. So thank you very much. Yes, thank you to Himari for that. So thank you for the thank yous to Himari. And she is also watching this. So you may see Himari jumping in on the Imperiate 4 YouTube at some point. So if you see the Imperiate 4 comments, those are from Himari, who is also watching. So how did you guys like the Obad music video? I hope you enjoyed it. So let me actually, I got some tricky stuff. Check this out. Boom. So we can swap out the backing images. We can swap out our backing images to match with the topic of conversation. So did everybody get a chance to check out the Obad video? I know I saw a couple guys saying they just saw it last week. I hope you enjoyed it. So that one was something that both Himari and I and Nikolai as well also really wanted to make. That was a really special song. Thank you. I'm super glad that you guys liked it. Thank you for all of the amazing comments and the amazing feedback. So we actually did the choreography for Obad. This was probably April, I think. Thank you so much, guys. 本当にありがとうございます。みんな見てくださってすごく嬉しかった。We did the choreography for Obad in April, and as you guys might know, Wako Sensei. Wako is our choreographer. She has choreographed all of Isiliel songs. And every time we do choreography, so I'll send her obviously the song, I'll send her the lyrics, and I'll also send her kind of the overall story, right? The story that we're trying to convey, the emotions, the feelings, thank you, that we're trying to kind of put out with that song. And it's always a little bit, you know, you get a little bit nervous when you go in there for the choreography because she has it all in her head and I don't know what it's going to be. So I'm kind of learning it along with Himari, or kind of seeing it for the first time along with Himari. And when she did the choreography for Obad, it was just, it was insane. I mean, it was more than I could have ever hoped for the choreography. So Himari and I are walking back to the train station from the studio, and I'm like, that was really good. The choreography's awesome. She's like, yeah, this was amazing. And I said, we need to do a music video, and we need to use the choreography in the music video. You know, that was one of the only videos that we had choreography basically start to finish. We had a lot of the choreo in the video itself. And that was kind of from the get-go, we had decided that we wanted to use the video to kind of share some of the choreography and show that with everybody. So wait, let me check on some of the comments. I wish I'll be able to attend the show, but so a fan is saying they're in Canada. Not a lot of Japanese artists come there. We would love to come to Canada. We've actually got, again, I said I wasn't going to announce anything, so I'm not announcing anything, but we had a interesting collab with someone from Canada that's going to be coming out tomorrow. So it's not like a new song or anything, but a Canadian artist, professional that we collabed with, that'll be coming out tomorrow. And so we were talking to that guy when we were doing that, and he was like, oh yeah, you know, Canada's really good for shows, you should come up. So hopefully we can get up to Canada. I'd love to. The Darkened Lights out of Himari in the video. It was beautiful and they loved it. Thank you so much. I am so glad to hear that. So yeah, I really wanted to kind of emphasize the light and the darkness in Obad. One of the big influences for that one, I was trying to think, how would we convey this really long, really kind of emotional, artistic, big song in a video that we could do on a really low budget, because our videos are always on a very low budget. I'm sure you guys know, but music videos do not make money. You don't get any cash from that. I think, even from the YouTube algorithm and the ads, we might get $50 a month, something like that. It's under 100, and so you're not going to be paying for a video with your YouTube clicks. So it's always a challenge, how can we make something really artistically interesting and cool on a low budget? And my big kind of lightning rod for this one was Kenneth Anger and Kenneth Anger's short films from the 60s and 70s, particularly Lucifer Rising. So I watched Lucifer Rising numerous times when we were kind of conceptualizing or getting into the Obad milieu, the kind of feeling for the overall video that we wanted to make. So if you guys watch Lucifer Rising and the Obad music video back to back, I think you'll see quite a few parallels. But I wanted that kind of occultic, ceremonial, artistic, really sort of thelemic vibe running through everything in there. So I'm kind of jumping back to some of these. Yeah, we would love to do Summer Festival in Canada. That would be amazing. More shows in France, in the South. Yeah, would love to do that as well. We were talking about maybe doing something in Paris this year, but I have had nothing but difficulty the couple times we've done events in Paris. So maybe next year. France, particularly the South, is probably going to be a next year thing. Serpents of Buffalo had a story within the song. A live concert in Japan next year for overseas. I'd like to see my for the Obad, yeah, there's very much a story running through the lyrics and running through the song itself that we needed to kind of decode and encode into the video. Obad 本当にストーリー性高い曲だと思ってて、それ MV で語るというか見せようとしたら難しいんですよね。すごくなかなか本当に難しい案件だけど、低予算低時間でどうにかその壮大な感じ、本当に大きいもう神話のような感じを見せたいなと思ってて、それがもしできたとしたら本当に嬉しいんです。A live concert in Japan next year. So I will be talking about shows in Japan. There's a couple questions about those. Let me hit on that a little bit later. So I did have some questions about shows in Japan. So that was in the fan questions. So I'll get to that when we get there. And in Russia, they also left money. I would love to do Russia. I think we're going to need for the situation, the overall Russian situation to calm down a bit. I would probably get a lot of, what would you say, feedback if we tried to set up an Isiliel show in Russia right now. But hopefully, there's a lot of areas where things are maybe not conducive to touring at the moment, but hopefully that will change, in the next few years. It would be nice to see things calm down a bit overall. So with that in mind, keeping that in mind, I thought we would jump in to some of the fan questions because there are a lot of them. I think we've got, like 20 questions here, and I want to give them all a good amount of time to touch on them. So let's jump into that. So we'll change the background image there. First question. What is the meaning behind the name Isiliel? So that's an easy one. So Isiliel is Quenya, which is Elvish, one of the Elvish languages from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and it means daughter of the moon. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you're probably familiar with Isildur. And Isildur is also Quenya for servant of the moon. So Isiliel is daughter of the moon in Elvish, in Quenya Elvish. And this is also kind of a little bonus howdy how for everybody. But if you have seen, I think, do we have the new one on there? The new magical seal that we have used for the last couple of months, and that is on the back of the hoodies, which are on their way to everybody right now, actually has the Quenya chant from Serpents of Odd. So the part in the video where Himari is kind of in the cave, the shadow Himari, the chant there is also in Quenya, and the Quenya text is around the current magical sigil. Okay, I'll hit a couple questions from the chat just so they don't flow away or flow along, as I also hit the questions from the forum. I wonder if next year if Celia will perform in countries they've never performed in before. I hope Himari's charm reaches all corners of the world. So do I. I really do. We are working a lot on shows for next year already. We're working a lot on tours for next year. And I always want to hit up new countries. I always want to do new countries. So I would be very surprised if there were not new countries in 2026. 来年2026年イシリエルツアーで行ったことない国行くではないんですか。ひまりちゃんの魅力全世界伝えてほしいという素晴らしい質問、素晴らしいコメントいただいて本当にありがとうございます。来年ツアーも準備取り掛かっているところで、まあ公開できるというかはっきり言えることはまだないんですけど、逆に新しい国がなかったらびっくりします。毎年新しい国、新しい街行こうとはしてるから、来年絶対あると思います。お楽しみに待っててください。So, fans who enjoy the Lord of the Rings reference, thank you so much. I'm really glad that you enjoy those. That's awesome. I enjoy it a lot too. Okay, so the next question. How did you start becoming a manager for idols? Was it a slow approach? Or was it just fate? So that's an interesting question. Actually, not to be pedantic, but to be slightly pedantic, I'm technically a producer, which in the West or in English, a lot of times producing and managing is kind of rolled together. In Japan, it's a little bit separate. So producing is usually more focused on kind of the creative, or how would you say, the actual creation of the music and the visuals and everything like that. Manager is more the day-to-day kind of schedules, transportation, logistics, things like that. The parts that I'm not very good at. So I am a manager, but I'm not very good at the managerial parts. I enjoy the production parts a lot more. But to answer your question, what you're actually trying to ask, some fans here are probably already familiar with this, but some fans are probably not. So I'll kind of go quickly. Probably 15 years ago or so, I was working for a company that was doing some Japan to international projects in Southeast Asia. This time it was in Malaysia. And they were doing, if you guys are familiar with the Japanese show Sasuke, it was in the US as American Ninja Warrior. It's like an obstacle course show. But they were doing a kind of Malaysian version of Sasuke, along with a sort of Malaysian youth festival at that time. And they wanted to bring some Japanese idols over to perform. So the person involved on the Malaysian side was like, yeah, let's bring AKB48. And he asked our company if we could get in touch with them and try and set something up. But 15 years ago, you guys might know, that was like the Kami 7, the sort of like the Holy 7 era of AKB, where they were basically on top of the world. Like, they were the biggest idol group in Japan. They were, doing huge shows, huge tours, lots of media collaborations. And so they said, well, if you pay us a whole lot of money, we'll think about it. And they didn't have that much money. So they said, who else could we bring over? Like, what are some other options? And my boss said to me, find out about idols. Figure out what's going on in the idol world. Like, who are cool idols? And so I started researching, and this was when Denpa was just getting big. BIS, the first, like the original BIS, was just starting to get big. There was a lot of really, really cool movement, a lot of cool activity on the idol side. And so in the end, we ended up taking over Momoiro Clover Z. And this was right before they kind of exploded in popularity in Japan, like right before that. And they're amazing. Like, they put on a really, really killer show. They were super cool individuals, and being able to work with them, having the opportunity to kind of see that idol scene, like what the idol movement or scene was about, got me interested to the point where I kind of became a fan. And I started just going to idol shows on my own, even though that work project had finished. And through that, I was also doing basically figure prototyping. So I had left that company, went on my own, was doing figure prototyping and production management for guys making toys, art toys in Japan. And I was in the studio all the time. I was just kind of working with my hands, maybe going out to the factory to talk with some 70-year-old Japanese guys about getting molds made or getting paint masks made. And it was cool, but it was a little bit, insular, right? You're just in the studio all day. So I would be literally polishing wax prototypes for 10 or 12 hours a day. And I said, this is cool, but I want to get out of the studio. I want to do something that involves other human beings. And so I just made Necronominal. I just said, okay, I'm going to make an idol group. It will probably not last that long. It's sort of just a side project, but that is where it came from. That was kind of my start, getting into the idol business. So yeah, there are a lot of idol groups that became really famous overseas kind of after that. At that point, there weren't a lot of international idol fans, but actually another fan is saying, or no, same fan, saying they like Baby Metal. Baby Metal was sort of the fuse that got lit on that powder keg to really send idol groups overseas, I think. That was the first group I saw with a lot of overseas fans and overseas interaction, because they were doing international tours before really any other group that I saw. But that was my start. So I said that would be a short story. That was a bit of a long story, so apologies for that. So let's move on to the next question. I'm glad that people find this interesting. Thank you very much. So that was sort of my start in the idol scene. Another question, somebody asked, what will be your future projects? Will you always be with the Isiliel project? Yes. Himari and I have talked many, many times about the Isiliel project, and kind of what the real core of Isiliel is. And I think we're both on the same page, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying that Isiliel is kind of the two of us. So I wouldn't want Himari to do it without me, and I would never do it without Himari. So I will put that out there. You guys can tattoo that on your bodies if you'd like, but if Himari is ever unable to do Isiliel, Isiliel will finish. We're going the Motorhead route, where when Lemmy passed away far too soon, but when Lemmy passed away, they said there's no Motorhead without Lemmy, there's no Isiliel without Himari, and I have zero plans to quit anytime soon. And also for new projects, I really want to put more time and more effort into Isiliel, so I have no plans for any new projects. Kind of related to that, we had a fan who asked, I'll ask the question people are chomping at the bit to know, is there a plan to bring Necroma back from hiatus? これ日本人のファンもちょっと気になってるかもしれないんですけれど、ネクロノマイドル活休から復活させる予定ございますでしょうかと聞いてる方がいらっしゃいます。In a word, no, not right now. So there's a lot of reasons for that, and it's not a simple subject at all. But if you guys were following back during the Necronominal days, especially in the last couple of years, I'm sure you saw that there were a lot of member changes. And that's not great, but if you're also following other idol groups, you've probably seen that right now that's sort of the case. Like there are a lot of idol groups that the groups themselves are kind of here today and disbanding tomorrow. A lot of members are, joining and quitting, and the idol scene right now is not really conducive to sticking with it for the long time. There's a lot of reasons for that that I could go into, but without kind of going too far into the woods, I would say it's difficult to keep members. Member retention is really hard. And that's difficult for a group like Necronominal, where there's a lot of parts. There's a lot of parts to sing. Obviously we weren't using backing tracks to replace the main vocals. The main vocals were live. There's some support vocals in the tracks, but the members were singing those parts, and 3-4 harmonies on individual songs, it's a lot. And especially when you have members coming in who are not experienced, a lot of them that was their first time performing, or maybe they were coming from a group where they weren't really singing a lot on stage. It takes a long time and a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of money to kind of get them up to where they need to be. And part of that effort, a huge part of that effort, was coming from Himari, because she was the only member who had been with the group for a very long period, and she was kind of playing teacher to the new members, or kind of senpai, as you would say in Japanese, to the new members. And it was a lot of extra work, and to be honest, frustration, because you're just training somebody to the point where they can stand on stage and kind of keep up with everybody, or kind of keep up with the demands of the choreography and the songs. And then 2 weeks later, a couple months later, sorry, can't keep going. So that was, I think for both Himari and I, we had talked about, do we keep kind of rehashing the same thing? And it's like, how many times are we going to have to teach everybody Skulls and the Stars? How many times do we need to call in the choreography teacher? How many times do we need to call in the vocal coach and be like, okay, time to teach these parts again? And beyond that, it really wasn't fair, I would think, to my way of thinking, to the fans, to say, hey, we've got these new members, we've got a new lineup, this is going to be really cool, this is going to be amazing, please come see us on tour, please listen to our songs, watch our music video, because that's my job as a producer. Your job is to produce the idols, to show them in the best way that you can, to kind of put them in the best light that you can. And so there were a lot of situations where I had to be like, this is going to be an amazing new lineup, this is going to be so cool. And already when I was putting those, social media posts up, there were members saying, oh, I don't like the new girl, I don't want to work with her. And it's kind of like, please guys, let's get on the same page here. Let's kind of be working towards the same goal to kind of carry this group forward, because we've got a tour, we've got an album, we've got these things coming up. So based on the current idol situation, based on really what I want to do, and what I think is kind of fair both to Himari as well as to the fans, there are no current plans for Necronominal to come back. すいません、それ結構長い説明になったんですけれど、全部英語で。で、先ほどありがとうございます。今の体制、イシリエルの体制、メタルバンドとして活動されてて、ありがたく思ってくださって心強いです。本当ありがとうございます。簡単で言うと、アイドル界隈、今長い間同じメンバーというか同じ体制で 活動を続けることがいろいろ難しいんですよね。皆さん、特にアイドルをファンとしてフォローしてるっていうかなんか見てる方々が分かるかと思うんですけれど、最近アイドル界で、割と寿命短いんですね。グループもそうだし、パフォーマーっていうかアイドルさん自身も短いなと思うし、ずーっと頑張ってきたひまりちゃんにあんまりフェアではないなって思うし、でファンの方々にもあんまりフェアではないなと思います。なんか例えばなんか新しい体制になった、もうこれからぞ、もうやってやるよって発表した次の週とか次の月で、すいませんがちょっと脱退があります、すいませんちょっと活動変更あります、現体制は続けられないと言いたくないところで、今ネクロノアイドルの復活は考えてないところでございます。ご了承のほどよろしくお願い申し上げます。 So we are not getting through a lot of questions. We still have a lot more. But related to that, a fan asked a really, really interesting one. If you went back in time to 2018 to Void Him era Necroma, and you were going to tell your younger self that Necroma would eventually break up and reform and break up again, but one member would stick through it through thick and thin to go on to become a heavy metal warrior princess. And if you asked your younger self, who do you think that member will be? Who would you have said? This is a very interesting question. So let me also update my question list with that one. To be honest, Void Himera Necronominal. So we've got 5 members. And if we're saying who will stick through it to thick and thin to become a heavy metal warrior princess, well, to be honest, I think several of those members, that wasn't in the cards. That wasn't even something they really wanted to do or would have wanted to do from the start. I know Sadi was always kind of set on showing herself in the artistic way that she wanted to show herself. So kind of sticking through things thick and thin, and definitely becoming a heavy metal vocalist were not in the cards for her. And I think what she really would have wanted to do as a solo was not what I would have wanted to do as a solo. So I would kind of remove her. For Rei Imaizumi, she wanted to be an idol. She wanted to perform as an idol. Definitely, she wouldn't have been in the running. It's not what she wanted to do. For Hina, same. I think she was more interested in that idol aspect. For example, at that time, at least when we were working together, kind of the social media aspect, some of the more visual sides of being an idol. And I don't think she would have been interested in performing solo at all. I don't think that would have been in the cards for her. So that leaves us with Himari and Risaki Kakizaki. Hold on one sec. Sorry, just let me get a little bit of water. I think a lot of people, if they asked that question, would have said Kakizaki. I think that would have been their initial response. But I don't think she's the kind of person who can really perform on her own. Or I don't think she would want to. Not in a long-term capacity. So she was sort of the kind of de facto leader of the group at that point, as one of the original members. But she wasn't the kind of person who would stand on stage on her own. And even as a fan has mentioned with Malakilia, that was never something that was done really live so much. That was more of a studio project, you know. Studio vocals, sure, but it wasn't something where you need to have a special kind of mindset, a special kind of guts. To be honest and not to be base, you need to have balls. You really need to have balls to stand on stage on your own in front of an audience and perform. And I just don't think that was in the cards for her. So even if you asked me then, and I kind of went through the process of narrowing members down, Himari, you know, she never missed a lesson. She never missed a show. She was always on time. She was always 100% dedicated. If you said, hey, let's do this, let's go for it, she went for it. I mean, she really did. And so I think she was the only one who really had the kind of the tamashi, the like soul, the spirit to perform as a solo metal vocalist. I think she was the only one that could have kind of walked that path. Let me jump back. A fan says they didn't know Necronomicon before Isiliel, but prefer Himari alone. More free and peaceful, and her voice has more emotions when she's alone. 100%, yeah. And the thing, performing in an idol group, you're playing a role. You're really given a role to perform. It's like being in a stage play or in a movie. You're the cool one. I'm really kind of simplifying things right now. I'm very much simplifying it. You're the cool one. You're the mysterious one. You're the powerful one. You're the cute one. You're the kind of genki, the energetic one. And it's very, very different from performing solo, where you have to convey a whole range of emotions. Obviously, idols convey a range of emotions as well, but it's much more limited. You've only got, for example, 1/5 of the song, or one fragment of the song that's yours. You don't have the entire song that you have to perform or are able to perform yourself. So yeah, I think there's a huge amount of freedom. There's also a lot of pressure because you don't have anybody that you can rely on. You don't have anybody that you can kind of fall back on. The show lives or dies by your efforts. And another fan saying the other members of Necronomicon doing what they want to do and doing well in their own way, go for it, Godspeed you. Do what you want to do. Go blaze your own path. But I think, yeah, it was not the path. It was definitely not the path that Himari was on. That was hers and hers alone. So moving on to the next question. This is interesting. So a fan says they love everything Himari and I create together. What is a music genre or subgenre you would like to try with Himari? So Himari uses the word goth in her social media a lot. And I think that goth aspect, that kind of goth spirit, really lives in Isiliel. I love goth. I love goth music, especially trad goth. And I would love to do a really straight up kind of gothic, like goth, trad goth, Sisters of Mercy, Rosetta Stone, Susie Sue, a really trad goth song with Isiliel. I think that would be super cool. Even something a little bit more 45 Grave, kind of goth rock, goth punk influence song, I think would be super cool. So that's not in the plans for the future. So hopefully we will have some very interesting gothy music coming up. Another fan is asking, will Isiliel continue to focus on a band structure and perform at music festivals? Yes! 100%. So we will definitely be doing more band shows. We already kind of soft announced this. The December show in Japan will have a backing band. We have some upcoming backing band shows outside Japan that we are working on as well. So very much so, that will be in the cards, and also very much so for music festivals coming up. すごく面白い質問っていうか、皆さんにお伝えしたい質問ですけど、イシリエルはこれからもバンド編成、音楽フェスとかバンドフェスに出演したいんですか？したい。12月のライブは、バンド編成として出演いたします。で、来年フェスも出れるように今も頑張ってますので、そうします。So I think there is a question in the chat that connects in with one of the questions we received before. So a fan was asking if we have any plans to collaborate with Yosei Teikoku, with Yui-sama from Yosei Teikoku. I like Yosei Teikoku a lot. They're a really cool band. I know some guys who have worked with them. I don't know about the current situation. This is all old information. This is from a way back, but I know that in the past their management was difficult. That's all I really know. I can't say anymore, but I have heard they are not exactly easy to work with. It's not something I'm working on right now. If the opportunity arose, I think it would be super cool. I think it would be awesome. Is it something I'm going to push for on my side? Probably not, just because we have a lot of other projects that we're pushing on, and I don't really have the resources to devote to that. But if it came up, would I be down? Yes, I would be down. I think it would be cool. I've been showing the same picture for a million billion years. The next question is relating to live streams. So I'll change the photo. I forgot to change the photo for a while. I got so caught up. What are the requirements when scouting a location for recording the live stream? What are the most important things to consider to make it a good location? Things that don't result in this picture happening. Things that don't cause this. So yeah, for live streams, one of the big ones is always, is it cool? Is it going to be a cool backing location or a cool location to shoot in? So personally, whenever we're overseas, I love using environments, trees. I do love using trees that we can't find in Japan. Something that you would not be able to do when you're here. Something just specific to that location. So for example, if we're in Germany, some of the beautiful ruins or the beautiful forests of Germany. If we're in the US, the desert or some of the unique aspects of American scenery that you can use. But also the weather is a big one. The how difficult it is to shoot there. Are there a lot of people? Are there a bunch of cars driving by? When we're in Japan, shooting in public is always really difficult. So we shoot a lot in studios, like photo studios or cosplay studios. Overseas, you don't really have those studios to use. So I think safety is one of the big ones. So if we're kind of taking the aesthetic elements out, safety, how easy is it going to be able to shoot? How how much can I trust the weather? So yeah, as Derek mentioned in the chat, you can never control the weather, and we ran into that problem in Scotland. Start the shoot, beautiful sunny day, everything's looking good, and then from the basic stage entrance music, the clouds roll in and it starts to rain. The worst one being the time we did the live stream from Sweden, from Tjolöholm Slott, Tjolöholm Castle in Sweden, and we had a lightning storm that came. So that was safety as well as comfort as well as everything else. One of the reasons we've been doing a lot of streams inside, indoors. But yeah, those are kind of the big things on my checklist when we are talking about doing a live stream. So this is a good one. Hold on, I will also change. I have to switch my windows when we are going back and forth. A fan is asking about live shows. So I want to see a live show when I visit Tokyo. Any upcoming shows in the next few months? December 13th is going to be our next show in Tokyo. So if you are here on December 13th, we will be releasing tickets for that very, very soon. I do want to do more regular shows in Tokyo. So as I mentioned, the idol scene right now, it's not really a great match for us. That's not to say I would not play with idol groups, but right now I would much rather kind of perform with bands, perform with a backing band, if at all possible. And so we've been trying to move in that direction in terms of setting shows up, but that's also challenging because that's not an easy thing to do from a managing standpoint. But it is a big goal. And the awesome thing, so we had our first Japanese show a couple of weeks ago. Just a few weeks ago. We sold it out. It was a small show. It wasn't a big venue. It was a kind of 30-person limited show. I wanted to kind of test the waters and see what the reaction would be, see how everything went for our first show back in Japan this year, and it was great. It was a big success. I think everybody had a really good time. We were not able to do that one with a backing band because the venue was kind of an acoustic venue, so we didn't have the gear or the kind of the space that we would need to do the band. But December we will, so that's going to be the next kind of dipping our toes in the water of seeing how things go. So if everything goes well in December, we will be seeing more shows in Japan coming up in 2026, and we will announce them as soon as possible, very fast. Some fans talking. Yeah, I think working with Denkare and working with EEF is going to require a bit more work on our side. We do need to get a little bit more of a track record. It's a direction we want to go in. I'd love to do it. I think it would be super cool. So hopefully, fingers crossed, down the line, that would be awesome. I think that would be really, really cool. I want a featuring between Himari-san and you searching for questions in the chat should be a good song. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. A featuring between Himari-san and you searching for questions in the chat. I don't know what you're asking there. If you want to rephrase it, I will answer your question. I'm sorry. So the next one, there's two that kind of work together. So one fan is asking, do you have plans for your next album? And another fan asked, could you tell us a bit about the creation of the music for the albums in terms of what direction, if any, is provided to them? I think them, they mean the songwriter, in terms of what music you want them to create. Do they get to meet you or learn a bit about Himari first, or get to hear the sorts of emotions she wanted to put in the songs? Let me mark those both as asked. So, I think I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday with the announcement for tonight, but I was actually just on the phone with Nikolai, our songwriter, yesterday, talking about the next album. So we are already working on album 3. One big thing is always kind of having as much lead time as possible to really put time into the songs, to really put time into the album, to really give Himari time to kind of get used to the songs, to they're difficult, right? There's a lot to learn. The melodies are hard. She has to write the lyrics, which is not easy. So to really give her all the time and resources we can to get ready. And so we're working on it now. The gears are already turning in relation to the next album. And talking about the creative process, so all of our, both of our albums, I shouldn't say all of our albums, but both of our albums have been completely written by Nikolai Hovland from Bergen, Norway. And so I've been working with Nikolai for maybe 5 or 6 years now-ish. And we communicate a lot when it comes to songwriting, when it comes to what we want to make. And since Nikolai's been working with us for so long, he's met Himari many times. We did the recording, the full recording for the second album with Nikolai. He did the recording and the engineering all in Norway. He came over for the recording for the first album in Sweden when we did that with Fredrik Nordström in Göteborg in Gothenburg, Sweden. And I think the first time he met Himari, he actually came to Japan about 2.5 years ago. And he performed with us at Shinjuku Red Cloth. He did guitar accompaniment on a few songs. And that was the first time, that trip was the first time he met Himari. And so he knows her pretty well. You know, we've been working together for a couple of years. And generally when we're doing a new album, both the first album and the second album are concept albums that tell a story. And the third album, obviously, we would want to continue that on, continue that story, continue that kind of concept album production on. And so we just start talking about themes, story ideas, movies that we like, anime we're into. Nikolai is Norwegian, but he's a big fan of anime, of Japanese games, of kind of Japanese sort of the kind of pop culture touchstones that we're really drawing on. And so a lot of times when we're talking, part of that is talking about songs, you know, like, oh, like something like this song or like this artist or similar to this or similar to that musically. But a lot of times it's also, you remember that part in Madoka, in Madomagi, where, Homura, where Homura is gearing up for her fight against Walpurgisnacht, and she's got all of her weapons ready to go, and everything goes beautifully, but at the very end, everything is destroyed, and everything was all for nothing. Let's really have that kind of emotion, that kind of loss, that kind of nervousness and joy and power turning into sorrow in this next song coming up. And so we're talking a lot about those different kind of touchstones when we're doing the production, when we're doing the creation. That was a long answer, a very long answer. I've got a couple Japanese questions, so let's do a couple of the Japanese questions as well. And sorry, I'm not trying to, I'm not ignoring the chat, but I also want to kind of get through these before we go to have a hugely long talk discussion. 過去に戻って何か変えられることができれば戻りたいんですか? So, if you could go into the past and change something about your past, would you do it? So I'm going to be, we're talking about anime, right? So let me be a little bit chuny, let me be a little bit chuny bio with this. もうさっきアニメの話もちょっとだけ英語の部分だったけど、少しアニメチックな話もさせていただいたんですけど、ちょっとchuny bio許してください。chuny bio 許可お願いします。I think if you go back and change something in the past, that could have those kind of butterfly effect, chaos theory ripples that go forward into where you're at today, right? You never know what changing that one thing or changing that one element of the past is going to affect in the future, in the present. And I wouldn't do that because I really like the future that we're in right now. I think we are sort of living in the best possible future. And of all of the possible futures that were laid out in front of me, and, talking about Isiliel, Himari and I think we're on a really, really good one. And so I wouldn't want to go into the past, change something and think, oh, this will make it even better. And then it all turns to shit, right? ちょっと中二病的な話ですけれど、なんか過去にいて、些細なこと書いて、もうカオス理論とか、ああいうバタフライエフェクト、なんかその映画あるじゃないんですかね。なんかもう過去にいて、些細なことを書いて、壮大な結果っていうか、すごい大きい災いを導いてしまうこともあるだろうって思うので、変えません。もう過去にいて変えることはしない。なぜならば今の世界線が最高の世界線だと思ってます。今の世界線で満足してます。いい世界線。変えない。これでいい。Okay, a couple other Japanese questions. These ones might be a little bit. Ricky さんが元いたバンドの名前何でしたっけ？で、リッキーがもしイシリエルと共演すること、なんか例えばなんかフィーチャリングリッキーっていうことがあったら見たいんです。まあなさそうだけど、すごいスペシャル感が半端ないから検討して。That a fan is asking, what was the name of the band I was in many, many years ago? And if I had a chance to join Isiliel on stage, would you do that? Probably not, but it would be very special. I was in a couple bands that didn't do anything interesting at all. We just played around. I was never in a serious, real band. The most serious thing I ever did was a little bit of help for the kind of crossover thrash band Saigon Terror. 格好はもう本当にマジで無名。なんかもう私だって曲とかコンテンツ未だに持ってないバンドもう遊びとしてやってただけで、今でもなんか活動されてるっていうか、今でもなんか名前残ってるバンドはサイガンテラっていうスラッシュバンド、クロスオーバースラッシュバンド、ヘルプちょっと数回 1,2 回だけやらせていただきました。ボーカルがいない時で多分すっごいダメだったからもうすぐ帰られた。でイシリエルと共演することっていうか、なんかイシリエルコラボみたいなことができたら しません。プロデューサーだからステージはサポート以外立ちません。If there was an opportunity to join Himari on stage, I would turn it down. I would not want to join her on stage. That's her domain. That is her area to shine. She doesn't need me on there. And to be honest, my real feelings are as a producer, you should be in a supporting role. You should be supporting the performer on stage. And in most situations, you don't need to be on stage. So thank you for the question, but no. Also, I have one other Japanese question here. We'll cover that real quick. リッキーさんはもうソフビ人形を作らないんですか？うちにあるピンクの兄弟クトゥルフ、存在感半端なくて好きです。イゴルナクの手も可愛い。いつかイシリエル人形も。A fan is asking if I used to make soft vinyl figures, and they're asking if I have any plans to make more soft vinyl figures. They have a Cthulhu and Igolanak figure that I made way back in the day, and that also like an Isiliel doll or Isiliel figure. ソフビっていう業界が私が関わってる時から今で言うと結構変わっててすごい人気出たんですよね。でもっともっとやってる方々がもうほとんど引退してて、もう僕やってる時でもう70代とか60代後半の方がほとんどでした。でその方々がもう引退とかなんかやめて若い人たちが入って、で今中国とかなんか他の海外すごい作ろうとしてる方がいっぱいいるんですけれど、もう結構ね値上げしてるんですよ。だからもともと結構早く安く作ることができたんですけど、今すげえ高いんですよね。簡単に作ることがなかなかできないからやってみたさはあるんですけど、多分現実的に難しいかなとは思います。すいません、良い返答ができなくて。When I was making soft vinyl figures many years ago, it was a lot cheaper and faster and easier to make things. But the guys that I was working with were like in their 60s and 70s. They're pretty much all retired right now. And the younger guys coming in are working with a lot of international makers in countries like China. There's a lot of demand. The prices are a lot higher. It's a lot more difficult to make things now than it was 15, 20 years ago. So while I would like to do it, probably no, unfortunately. Let me hit. We only have a couple questions left. But let me hit the ones in chat because I don't want to pass by those and lose them. Going back. Anime is the international language these days. It is. It's crazy. You know, when we're in the US, especially on the West Coast, every third car I see on the highway has like a Demon Slayer sticker or a Jujutsu Kaisen sticker. And I'm like, wow, it's weird to think that, you know, anime has become so big. But that's cool. It's a good genre. It's amazing. So it's good to see it getting the recognition. You may have answered this in past interviews, but what was your first impression of Himari when you first met her? 前のインタビューで答えしたことあるかもしれないんですけれど、ひまりちゃんと最初に会った時第一印象何でしたっけっていうか、第一印象は何でしたか? So when I first met Himari, she was performing in another idol group, and Necronominal and that group were performing together. And the first impression I had of her was she was, this is not to sound, not to, I have to watch how I put this. She was like a giant among ants. So compared to the other idols, other performers at that show, she really stood out. She had the stage performance or the stage presence that was just head and shoulders above every other performer at that show. And so she really left a big impression. And when we were talking about new members to bring on to Necronominal and her name came up, I thought, oh wow, yeah, in a minute I would love for her to join the group. She'll never join. And she did. So that was really happy. ひまりちゃん最初に会った時は別のアイドルグループとして活動されてる時でした。で当時ネクロノマアイドルとそのグループが対バンさせていただいてる時でステージ見させていただいて、で本当になんか言い方あれなんですけど、もう巨人のような存在感でしたね。もう進撃の巨人でなんか巨人と人間たちみたいな差で、本当にもう立体感があって、もう存在感本当に強かった。なんかこんな存在感っていうか、このなんていうかね、覇気オーラのあるアイドルさん、こういうイベントなかなか見ないなって思ってて、グループ新メンバー探してる時で他のメンバーがひまりちゃん提案してて、もし入るんだったらすげえ嬉しいんだけど入るわけねえやろって思ったんですけど、入ってくださって感謝です。未だに感謝でございます。if a Himari figure or soft vinyl doll were to come out, I would definitely buy it. I would love to make one. Honestly, if it was 20 years ago, or not 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, and I could do it easily, I'd do it in a minute. イシリエル人形、ひまりちゃん人形があったらすぐ買いたいっていう方で作りたいんです。本当に作りたい。ソフビの友達にちょっと声かけてみようか。Oh! The person was referring to the little song I was singing when I was going back. Looking back there. We should, maybe that's next year's April Fool's song. I don't think Himari would be happy about that. But now I understand. Thank you for explaining that. I'd love to hear another song that's like Seizon Sendyaku. I would too. I would love to do another kind of city pop, sort of like heavy pop song like that. That would be super cool. That would be something to think about in the future. But yes, definitely. Okay. 2 more questions. This is it. We have gone through. We're going over time, but we're making good progress. What's your favorite part making a new album or entering a new era? So, for example, when we have a new album, we have new outfit and all of these other things. I've been designing the uniforms, and I love designing the uniforms. I think that's really, really fun. That's a really interesting element of the process to me. So I love doing the uniforms. I love thinking about the photo sessions. So when we did the jacket shoot for Moonbow Rebellion, I sent the photographer old Manowar jackets from the heavy metal band Manowar, and I said, I want to do something like this, but not a painting, in live action. And so thinking about how we can do that, the lighting, the background, all the props that we use, that's a really, really fun part. And I love directing the music videos. I really enjoy that. Basically, all of the creative parts, I love. The kind of back-end schedule, accounting, all of that sort of paperwork stuff, I don't love. So that's a good question. And the last one we'll cover, this is kind of tying into something interesting. This is kind of a heavy question. Skip it if you don't feel comfortable. Have the recent American political changes, visa integrity fees, travel warnings, etc., made an impact on your plans to perform there? And if not, what precautions will you take for your next trip? Yeah, so that's been big. That's one of the reasons we weren't able to do a really big US tour as part of Moonbow Rebellion, because I had no idea if we'd be able to get into the country. Just as an example, I don't know if you guys saw, I tweeted about this maybe early September, but there was a change made to shipping methods to the US where they ended what is called the de minimis, what would you say, Joken? The de minimis exemption for parcels being sent to the US. So previous to this September, you could send things from other countries into the US under $800 in value. They were exempt from taxes. That changed basically overnight. So just from one day to the next, there was a decision made that the de minimis exemption for imports was gone, null and void. Which fair enough. A lot of other countries don't have that. In Europe, they either don't have it or it's very, very low. It's not $800. It's maybe $30 or $40. Some countries don't have a de minimis at all. So anything going in, there's taxes assessed. Fair enough. But the big difference is those changes were made well in advance. And there was like a path to say, okay, this law is changing. You're not going to be able to send things in for free anymore. These are going to be the taxes, and this is how they will be assessed. In this case, it was just, you can't do that. And then, so Japan Post and several other countries basically said, so we can't send things to the US. So basically, overnight, shipments to the US were stopped from Japan and other countries. That's the worry. If we do a tour, my big concern, A, is can we get in there? Are we going to be able to enter the country? Because obviously we have a lot of money and resources tied into the tour, but fans are traveling. If we do a show in Los Angeles, fans will come from San Francisco, they'll come from Texas, they'll come from a lot of other areas, from Alaska, to see us there. And the last thing I want to do is have fans spending hundreds of dollars on flights and hotels and rent-a-cars, and then we say, oh, that show next week, we couldn't get into the country, it's canceled. So I've been gun-shy about the US, but I've received some good information, positive information. I think we can make things happen. Moonbow Rebellion is not over. Obviously, we have a lot of fans in the US waiting for us. Wait a couple more days. Literally, a couple more days, and we should have good news for you. So I am working on that right now. That's my current right now job. But yeah, it did cause a lot of issues, and it still has me worried. I will be worried until we get out of whatever airport we fly to. I will be worried until the minute that, I see Himari coming through the customs line and I clap. Hooray! Or not the customs line, the immigration line. That's it for questions. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, and thank you everybody in chat who sent questions at all. If I missed a question, if there's anything in chat that I didn't touch on, please let me know, and we can touch on it now. If you want to resend it, if I missed a question, shoot it over. Just to kind of finish out, the kind of the chill finish. We are in October. We're in the midst of October. Have you guys been watching a lot of horror movies? I have not been watching as many as I would like. Some guys do 31 for 31, so they do a horror movie every night in October, which is super cool. I don't really have the time to do that, but I would love to be able to do that. You guys have any good recommends? I will give you my recommends. These are not new. So everybody in chat is probably like, I already saw that. That's old. But you have to remember, in Japan, it takes a while before they come over here. The Robert Eggers Nosferatu was excellent, was very good. I liked that a lot. I love the way Robert Eggers shoots things. I love the cinematographers he works with. That was good. The ending was a little bit weak. I didn't like the ending as much as I had hoped, but it was pretty good. And the overall feeling, the vibes were matching it going into there. Longlegs was awesome. I loved Longlegs. I really, really, really liked Longlegs. I think a lot of people liked that, but it had that kind of occult element. It had this sort of A24, not really art house, but kind of art house shooting style. It had Nicolas Cage. It had that sort of like Silence of the Lambs feel. Longlegs was excellent. Longlegs was really, really good. The one horror film I want to watch this month that I haven't seen for a while, and this is going to be divisive. This is going to be a divisive one. Thank you for the recommendations. Was actually Skinamarink. Did anybody here see Skinamarink? I saw that most of the reviews for Skinamarink, people either absolutely loved it or they absolutely hated it. They were like, this is what happened to the last 70 or 80 minutes of my life. I loved Skinamarink. It was all dread. It's just nothing but creeping, just dripping dread. So if you guys don't care about a lot of action, if you don't care about a lot of boom, boom, bam, 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 but you just want a lot of dread, I would check out Skinamarink. Really, really highly recommended. Hold on, let me jump back. There were a couple questions. I wanted to give you guys time to put those questions in. That's why I did the movie recommends. Thank you guys for the kind comments. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I would love to do another session like this. I think that would be cool. It probably won't be a monthly thing, but you know, down the line, I think that would be awesome. What a serious manager I am. That's okay. Get your work done. You'll get it done now. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a question. Will the second part of Moonrow Rebellion Tour still be this year? It will be this year. Moonrow Rebellion Tour will finish this year. The remaining dates will be coming out very soon. And by very soon, I mean like next week soon. I have a couple people who are saying, I want to put the information out. And I have a couple people saying, give me a couple more days. And so I'm in between those two polarities, saying, okay, give me a few more days and make it a few days faster on both sides so we can get all the info out. I wonder if Himari was... Yes, I think Himari was listening to the broadcast. Thank you. I'm glad you guys checked it out. Incantation 2022, The Empty Man. Yes, I will check those out. And if they are from Makomai, those need to be checked. From. I have not heard about From. I need to check that out as well. Thank you very much. Silent Hill F made you mad. So I saw the teaser, the kind of trailer for Silent Hill F. And I was like, I love all of this. I love this. I really love Silent Hill. I'm a big Silent Hill fan, but I have to admit, the last video game system I bought for myself was a PlayStation 2. So I was in college. After that, you know, I bought like a Switch for my daughter, but I have not bought a PlayStation, or I have not bought a gaming console since like 2003, something like that. So I'm behind the times. I do want to watch maybe at least some playthrough videos. I don't know if it made you mad in a good way or a bad way, but I'm guessing it was a disappointing way. I want to check it out. And cosplaying as Hinako from Silent Hill F. Yes, I think that would be cool. A Hinako cosplay would be awesome. But yeah, I love at least the trailer, the teaser was like, this is what I want. There was there was supposed to be Silent Hills, I think was Kojima Hideo and the Silent Hill team were gonna make that together, I think, and it got canceled. That was disappointed. I thought that would be super cool. Don't buy Silent Hill F for my daughter. I don't think she would want to play Silent Hill F. She's like Mario Kart and Animal Crossing. She loves Animal Crossing, so Silent Hill is not her cup of tea. Yes, and thank you guys for the amazing questions, and I hope that we are able to meet everybody here on the second half of the tour as well. So, as I said, apologies for the delays on that, but we do have good news coming soon. Two ways. Loved it, but are traumatized. That's good. Trauma is good. Okay, so we are going over time, but thank you guys. I'm amazed there are still 21 people watching after 75 minutes of this. Thank you guys so much. We have good news coming soon. Please be looking forward to it, and thank you always for your amazing support of Isiliel. We will talk to you very, very soon, and I would love to do it again. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.